Welcome to another session of ADEX Pixel Virtual Expo, and in conjunction with Blue Hope campaign, World Ocean Week, and in collaboration with Blue Hope campaign. Today we'll be focusing on the ideas of ocean plastic innovation, and also circular economy. So today we have the honor of having two men from all the way from Egypt to come and talk to us and discuss a little bit more about aspirations, basically. So today we are talking in conversation with all the way from Egypt, Mr. Ahmed Gabr.
Hi Noor, how are you?
I'm doing well. And also Mr. Omar Samra. How about wave?
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Okay, so just a very quick brief or introduction of who are the both. So I think within the ADEX community, most of us would have known Ahmed Gabr. Ahmed Gabr is a Guinness World Record holder for the man that went the deepest. And also Omar is someone that is relatively very new in our industry, but he is nonetheless famous in his own right as an entrepreneur, an adventurer, and also a future astronaut, and also a motivational speaker. I shall not, hold anyone anytime, but I just want to start off with the first question. Since we are talking about Imagine If, which leads to the topic of aspirations, I just want to, let's say, start with Ahmed. What actually aspire you to be what you are right now?
Talking to me or Omar?
Ahmed.
Okay. I mean, as I told you, I mean, like, it's from before. I mean, like, I started, I mean, like, to see like a lot of hazard. I mean, like, I dive a lot, you know, like, so I started like to see the environment of the ocean right now. I mean, like, it's not like 20 years ago, for example, you know. So I started like the amount of marine life, the coral, you know, like everything, you know. So after my deep dive record, I mean, like, so I was focusing with my deep dive record for a quite long time, for 6 years, as I mentioned, I always mentioned, you know. So as like 1 year later, I was able to collect 614 divers, and then I did the largest underwater cleanup in a single venue. From here, I mean, like, I started like to be inspired. I mean, like, and that was just like the seed of a project, you know, like that I'm doing right now with my partner and friend Omar.
Thank you, Ahmed. Shall we proceed on, Omar? How about yourself? Tell us what inspire you to be what you are right now.
Just about Omar, say again about Omar, you forgot to mention he's also a diver, by the way.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Omar, the diver, also, do you mind if you can share with us a little bit more about what aspires you to be what you are right now?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in terms of diving, I'm a very novice diver. I think I've done probably 80 dives. I'm sure Ahmed has about 100 times more dives under his belt. I've always been, from a very young age, I was always very inspired by nature. I was always drawn to nature. I guess more to the mountains than the sea initially. And I think the mountains always gave me a feeling of solitude, clarity of mind. It was a place I always wanted to go to seek refuge, to kind of, it's a very beautiful place. And I was always drawn to it from a young age. I actually, when I was young, I was asthmatic. So it was very difficult for me to play any sports. And I climbed my first mountain at the age of 16 in Switzerland. And from there, I had this dream of climbing Mount Everest one day, which back home in Egypt, and I'm sure Ahmed can relate to this, when he was trying to do his world record dive, a lot of people just thought we were crazy, and why would an Egyptian want to climb the highest mountain on earth, and so on. And it was a dream that sort of took 12 years to accomplish. It was a lot of training, a lot of preparation, and stuff like that. And then as fate would have it, I continued climbing mountains. I did a couple of polar expeditions, skiing to the North and South Pole. and then eventually I found my way to the ocean. I don't want to jump the plan and the agenda you have, because I know we're going to talk about this later, but basically my aspiration really for all the adventures that I've done is basically to immerse myself in nature, and I think I have an emotional connection with it. And so when I find any kind of violation on nature or anything like that, I feel it on a very sort of emotional, visceral level. And this is something that both of us and our partners are trying to spread, this kind of awareness back home.
Thank you so much both for sharing. All right, since Omar, you did mention that you have experienced a lot of challenges, and also in comparison between you and Ahmed, you prefer to do your adventures on land, higher grounds, and Ahmed will prefer to go deep underwater. Different polarities, definitely. Perhaps you can share with us a little bit more with your pictures presentation. I do understand you have some pictures ready for us. Do you mind if you can share them, and then maybe tell a little bit of story, what goes behind them?
Yes, sure. Actually, before I share the photos, I will maybe tell you how Ahmed and I met. Ahmed was preparing for his deep dive a few years back, and I was contacted by his team. Ahmed obviously was in a sort of in a bubble of preparation and everything, and so they reached out to me and they said it would be quite he had obviously his boat with all the the tech divers and all the support divers, and there was another support boat, his family, friends and sponsors and so on. And so I was invited to be with him on that boat, and it was the idea was how to to bring the deepest and the Egyptian that's reached the highest point together at the same time. And obviously I'd heard of Ahmed, but I'd never met him personally. And so the first time I actually met him and shook hands with him was after his world record dive. And then over the years, we started to get to know each other better, and we realized that we not only have a passion for adventure, but we also have a shared passion for the environment and conservation. I'm going to go ahead and share just sort of 3 slides or photos that I've put together, and I think they kind of are they showing on your screen?
Yes, Omar, they look good.
Thanks. Well, there's not very much showing of me on that first photo. That photo is actually taken on the top of Mount Everest. I was the first Egyptian to reach the top. That was in 2007, so almost 13 years ago now. Since then, I've embarked on a lot of adventures. Mostly, they've been very cold and very cold, sort of, and desolate places. After I climbed the highest mountain in every continent, which is called the 7 Summits, I moved to the polar regions, and I managed to, in 2014 and 15, I managed to ski to the geographic South Pole and then the geographic North Pole. And obviously, anybody who's familiar with these types of adventures will know that the North Pole actually is very intimately related to the oceans, because while Antarctica is a continent, reaching the North Pole is actually in the Arctic itself. And so it's basically you're skiing for many weeks, and on top of a freezing ocean that is actually always at -1 degree Celsius. And then basically after this, I went into the ocean experience. This was my first foray, the first time that I ever do an adventure in the ocean. I've always been a lover of the sea and diving and so on, but I've never done it on any sort of intense or professional capacity. I've always had this idea, this dream of being able to row across the Atlantic Ocean. So this photo here is with a buddy of mine. His name is also Omar. We teamed together in 2017, and we tried to row across the Atlantic Ocean from the Canary Islands to the Caribbean, which is about 5,000 kilometers, or just 3,000 nautical miles. We tried to do this to raise awareness about the plight of refugees, because as you know, a lot of refugees, they face a lot of struggles, and they have to flee, and they have to cross dangerous bodies of water in various ways on very simple and simple vessels. And on the 9th day of our expedition, we were in a huge Atlantic storm. The waves were about 7 to 8 meters high. The boat capsized, which is not abnormal. It happens, but the boat is designed to self-right itself, but unfortunately it didn't due to a design flaw. And then the life raft didn't open. And what followed was 13 hours of both of us fighting for our lives in the middle of the high seas in this storm. And then eventually we were rescued by a 200-meter bulk carrier, happened to be traveling from Brazil to Spain. And we obviously put out a distress signal. And it was interesting that we went through this big challenge when we were actually trying to raise awareness for refugees going through a similar scenario. And we ended up coming back. We never intended to make a film about this, but when we came back, we ended up meeting a director who fell in love with the story, and we created a feature-length documentary that screened at Cannes Film Festival and other festivals to tell the story and also raise awareness about refugees. But what happened through this experience for me is that actually I developed, a sort of another connection with nature, but this time with the ocean, and started delving deeper into, everything related to that. And so my sort of feelings of conservation, of nature conservation, went from just being about mountains and the polar regions and the ice caps and so on, to also paying much more attention to conservation of the oceans and underwater as well, which obviously Ahmed is much more of an expert on. So that's really kind of my my story and how Ahmed and I met, and how conservation in general became something that I'm very passionate about.
Thank you, Omar. That's really fascinating. I have a couple of questions just solely based on the pictures that you shared, but I think I'll just wait till later on and we actually have a session where we can talk together. All right, so next one, it will be Ahmed. I do have some pictures from your Facebook that I would like to share. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit more about what they're about. Just give me a moment. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, like this is like well, this is few of them actually. I mean, like, so are you going to go like through each one of them?
Not really, but you can continue talking. I'm just gonna just flip
Well,
on.
this is during the record day. Actually, I mean, like I sent Omar one of the pictures, one of his pictures, on the record day, actually, like a few days ago. This ladder, this is the decompression ladder. So where I continue the rest of my decompression stops, and this ladder is actually few stops every 3 meters size, from 27 meters, 24 meter, then 21, 18, 15, 9, 12, 9, 6, 3 meters. Like this is where I ended up my dive. Down there it was like 650 meters, and then this picture the team were changing my quad system. My quad system, it weighs like 123 kilograms, and then they were changing, and we were practicing that for a quite long time, so they were changing the quad system from quad system to a side mount system, so I can carry just one tank during the whole dive to keep my back healthy. The one that you this one on the decompression ladder when I first met my cameraman, like, and the director, and like that was at 27 meters, like, so that was the first time I saw them after I did the record already. I mean, like, and this is on my journey back up. The one that you exposed before, this is my deepest support diver, the Guinness World Record adjudicator, myself. Yes. Noura?
All right, Ahmed. Perhaps you can share with us a little bit more about, you being a Guinness World Record holder. We have seen your pictures. You've actually talked to us on ADEX many, many times. And we really love all the sharings that you have. So perhaps you can tell us what's new with Ahmed Gabr.
Say again?
Perhaps you can share with us what's new with Ahmed Gabr. And
Well, this is yeah. I mean, like I mean, like as Omar told you, I mean, like I achieved the other record. You know, like it's like a year after, and that was the seed of. And this is what I'm doing right now with Omar. Also, mainly Omar and I were just focusing on the company that we just started. So we are putting. I mean, like, and then I talked about Omar as well, like few times. You know, like in few edits. I mean, like last year. You know, like. So we started the company, so we are kind of busy right now, like putting the structure, you know, like, and we have other two partners, Farah and Shireen as well, you know. So mainly they are doing everything, you know. So I'm almost mainly the brain. I'm just the muscle here. So I'm busy with that, you know, like with the company. The other thing I'm doing is the shipwreck expedition that I'm going to start the pilot episode, you know, like to show to my sponsors as well. I mean, like, so gonna be like in a couple of weeks, you know. And that's it for now.
okay, okay. Since we already have developed a base understanding of each one of you, Omar and also Ahmed. So I would like to ask, I'm sure within your discussion that you had together, one being an adventurer and someone who spends a lot of time climbing mountains and going upwards, and Ahmad, you have spent all the way downwards and you're still going downwards. So what makes you what makes the two of you decide to come together and aspire to what do you call this startup, like what you mentioned, your social enterprise called Imagine If?
So I think like I said, the two things that really bring Ahmed and I together is, the love of adventure, pushing boundaries, going out of our comfort zone. I think that's something that we both connected with on a big level, maybe before we even met, because we both heard about each other, but we hadn't met. But we both knew of each other's pursuits and achievements and so on. What I didn't know at the time until I met Ahmed and we started, after his dive, and we met on multiple occasions after, just as friends, and we started to get to know each other, and we realized that we both have this huge passion for nature that just goes beyond just the beauty of nature and enjoying nature, but also we have this intimate connection with it that we want to help conserve it. Like, we basically want to lend our voice and our platform to this cause of helping conserve nature. And we come from a country that, nature conservation is not at the forefront of people's imagination, whether you're talking on land or at sea. And so we believe that there is a lot of work to be done in terms of, raising the conservation, of getting people to be more aware of what's going on and so on. And so Ahmed and I started talking initially just very high level about different, an event or different collaborations that we could do. Ahmed had done a world record underwater cleanup. I had done, similar initiatives on land, but we wanted to go beyond just doing one event or just doing, something that just raises, some attention, but then disappears after. And we started putting our heads together and thinking, how can we create a sustainable organization that can have that impact over a long period of time? And then very quickly we realized that we couldn't do this by ourselves. And then, in a matter of weeks and months, the whole team came together with Farah and Shireen. And then we started realizing that to be able to do something like this, this requires all kinds of different resources. It requires financial resources, it requires manpower, it requires different kinds of partners, know-how, and so on. And we started to be able to start working on all of these different aspects. And in the end, we managed to reach out to corporate sponsors that jumped on board with this. National Bank of Egypt was the first to come on board. I see Ahmed wearing the sporting the logo of the bank, who was actually also Ahmed's sponsor for the deep dive as well. So, and we're very happy to have basically the biggest bank in Egypt supporting these efforts. We've realized over the past couple of years that, you know, attention towards conservation and the environment has been on the up and up with the, you know, the younger populations, and there's been a lot of initiatives and a lot of efforts, but these efforts tend to be quite small and fragmented. And so we thought that, you know, Imagine If could be a force for good that not only has its own objectives of conservation, its own objectives of raising awareness about what's going on, but also to become a platform that lends support and pools of these small initiatives working together and lends a voice to everyone, so that we can, you know, be able to raise awareness on a higher level, both between all of our connections, whether it's with corporate sector, private sector, or with the government. We hope to be able to, you know, to be a force for good in terms of, you know, changing legislation, raising awareness, whether it's we're talking about the sea or we're talking about land, because obviously all ecosystems are you know, are joined together on some level. So, you know, if you protect one and not the other, eventually the other one would be disadvantaged as well. And so, like Ahmed was saying, we're actually in a sort of a pre-launch phase where we had to make some adjustments, obviously, when COVID-19 came about, but we're still on track. And we hope that somehow in the next sort of few weeks we'll be able to launch. And we have, you know, we have some really good ideas planned in terms of, you know, engaging especially the youth population, the student population, not just in Cairo but across the country, because this is, you know, this is not an issue just for the capital, but it's a nationwide, you know, issue that needs to be tackled.
So I have another question though. I mean, like, I understand that as we have discussed, that Imagine If is a social enterprise that focuses on just focuses on plastics. Am I right, or do I stand corrected?
Well, actually, it's interesting that you say that, because this is kind of how it started. You know, when it started in the beginning, we had a different actually name that we had in mind for the initiative that was very much plastic centric. And then the more we delved into the matter, the more research we did, we realized that the plastic is one of the main issues, but there is so many dimensions to this. And also, in order for a country like Egypt, which is a developing country, at the end of the day, if you're going to change public perception, if you're going to make the guy on the street really care about what you're doing, you have to be able to affect change where it matters for them. And so we wanted to also look at various aspects. So we started also looking at, one of the things that we are taking very seriously is, you know, things related to water, for example. So, you know, how we can be able to be, you know, because the plastic dimension is twofold. So from one hand, you have the existing problem, which is the plastic kind of in the oceans, in the seas, in the deserts, and that causes you know, all kinds of different problems. I'm sure that, you know, the audience is all aware of it. But then there's also the point of, like, how do you actually then minimize or reduce the plastic massively so these problems don't occur. So you have to work on both dimensions. So one of the things that actually we've been working with, and we're still exploring and hopefully will be launching soon, is reaching out to you know, corporate entities. The bank is one of them. But we found that, for example, lots of these companies, you know, consume something like, one of the research that we did was something like 250,000 water bottles every year. And you know, obviously this, you know, so it's, and you keep looking into these numbers, you find that these numbers are shocking. And so we started looking at solutions, looking at providers, for example, of providing water filtration systems, of being able to, you know, tackle the problem at the source. And so just like there are solutions like that on the water level, there is solutions like that in various aspects and various dimensions of the environment ecosystem. And so we decided actually to start with water and plastic as a kind of an entry point, but we have lots of other plans. But, you know, one of the really important things that we're working on, and I did mention it, is raising awareness. And we're talking about raising awareness. We're talking about raising awareness with the youth, because this is where the change happens, because these are the future generations that are going to be custodians of the environment going forward. And so one of the things that we're working on now, in putting a lot of work in, is creating a student platform, a student competition, a way for students across the country, university students, school students, to be able not just to hear what we're talking about and to consume the content, but actually to engage in finding solutions and finding alternatives and so on. And by being able to engage the youth on a very intimate level and getting them involved in actually being part of the solution, I think you can create ambassadors of change across the country. And then, we're hoping that this initiative inspires other players in Egypt to kind of do the same, because this is not it's not a problem that we can solve single-handedly, and we hope to inspire other people in neighboring countries to kind of do the same. And we've looked to other countries around the world, whether it's in Asia or Europe or North America, of other entities that have done great work in that field, and that these entities and these initiatives continue to inspire us, and we look for them also for inspiration in our work and efforts.
Omar and Ahmed, since you guys mentioned that you would like to focus a lot on youth and also to actually help you to advocate this plastic awareness with regards to through the channel or through your platform, which is Imagine If. When you mentioned it just now, it sounds to me like a hackathon of some sense, like that you might be planning like a contest where there's a bunch of youth to come in to propose within their ideas to you guys as a platform, and then you guys will then exercise whether which one has the best ideas or solution to bring forth to the next level. So this, I'm not too sure whether this contest, are you looking at it locally, or will you be extending it to the global platform or to the youth of the global initiatives?
Ahmed, do you want to take that?
Yeah, well, I believe, we're gonna start locally here first. I think we're gonna focus, from our own country, and then we're gonna take it easy around the world. So we're gonna start with Arab world, I've been offered from so many countries like Saudi, Bahrain, Emirates, and then Taiwan even, to do this initiative, in that country as well. So we're gonna start. I think we're gonna get more experience here because we have the full support, and then later on we'll decide what we exactly need from whether government, students, people, people to help us in the other countries. Yes, Omar, do you want to add something with that?
No, I agree with Ahmed what he's saying. It's always important to start local. If you do a good job on the local front, then you have something that is valuable, and then you can sort of export that platform or that know-how outside. The hackathon model that you talked about is something that we did think about quite a lot, and it's probably something that we will try to do. And we also have quite a strong relationship with the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Egypt, which tend to use the hackathon model quite a lot, very effectively as well. What we're thinking though for the initial sort of student competition activity is to do something that is typically the hackathon model is sort of like a 48-hour or a very sort of short time frame, very dense, very intense to come up with a solution. We're going to do something that is spread across a longer period of time, just because we feel that there needs to be a lot of education that happens. So the competition is not just going to be a call out for submissions right away, but there's going to be a content that we're sharing and educational material that we're sharing to inspire also the ideas that come through. And so I think the hackathon is definitely a model that we would be using, but I see it probably as something a little bit further down the line once we see that we've developed a strong community and the engagement and know-how is already there.
Yeah, I mean, like I just want to add something as well. I mean, like as Omar said, I mean, like we wanna have more players in the court. You know, like we want to have more people. We want to have competitors. You know, because the whole idea about all of that, you know, is just to deploy the message to the whole universe. Yeah.
Well, actually, I find it very fascinating that you guys, that both of you want to work with plastic. Reason being is, um, I mean, there have been studies that microplastic can be found at at top of mountains and also through, I mean, like there have been certain research and discussion saying that there's also nanoplastic that it could be infused in the air where we will start breathing in and we start consuming and we start digesting. So it is this topic on plastic is I don't know. I think is an element that could be further expand and further discussed, maybe through the level or through the channel of circular economy, or even through education, through citizen science, through many ways, and especially the two of you as personalities, one being someone that is really known for being underwater, and you yourself, Omar, you have done a lot yourself, being an adventurer and someone who actually does a lot of uh, handful of initiatives in the education and the environment sector and adventure space. And you're also a former goodwill ambassador to the UNDP and also an honorary ambassador to Nepal. So I think both of you can actually do a lot in this landscape of plastic, I'm sure. Maybe my next question would be, how would you want to instill further curiosity with the youth generation to actually want to pursue their aspiration and actually be as successful as both you are right now?
I think, to be honest, I think the main thing is that just to let people know that what I did, or is not something anybody can really do. The things that I did, the will, desire to do it, and they, not everything comes through hard work. So if people are able to realize, and a lot of it comes through storytelling, right? So a lot of the times when you hear success stories, whether it's on the professional sports level or the business level, you usually hear about the people at their peak. You hear about the amazing things that they've did, and your relationship with the story becomes sort of awe-inspiring rather than just inspiring. So you're awed by these people, and you're very fascinated with the story. But then I think in order to really connect with someone, and for someone to really feel inspired, which means they feel that they can actually be like you or even better than you or do more than what you've done, is to, I think, be able to tell the story of how the genesis of the story of how this came about. So for example, when people understand, someone looks at an Egyptian, for example, says, okay, well, you've climbed Everest, you've gone to the poles, you've done this, like, that doesn't seem very achievable from where I'm looking at it. But then when you look at the beginning of when I was, asthmatic, diagnosed with severe chest asthma, had a very hard trouble breathing, and then taking people through the steps of actually how I managed to, go through all of that cycle, someone on their journey would be able to pinpoint a place during that journey and say, I can relate to you at this point. And once you're able to create a connection with someone, they feel that they can relate to you, then they're able to feel that they can do what you've done, and they can do more than what you've done. And I think, to be honest, in some ways, the challenge with my story, for example, was that it was very unrelatable in the beginning, because mountains, snow-capped peaks, glaciers, it's a terrain, and I'm functioning in a topography, in a dimension that is actually does not exist in Egypt. Whereas Ahmed, for example, and I'm sure he can talk a little bit more about that, but I think he's the record that he did and the achievements that he's done is in a domain that Egypt is actually very well known for, and in a sport that is actually, while there aren't any people or many people that have reached the same level that Ahmed reached in the sense of the level of sort of dedication and professionalism, but it's a sport and an activity that is practiced by many in Egypt. And so there is a huge and so I as somebody who was looking from the outside, having been a scuba diver, having been just an advanced sort of PADI, understand at least the basic concepts, it was extremely inspiring for me from second one to see what Ahmed did, because I could appreciate the magnitude of the hardship that he had to endure, and the mental toughness and the commitment he had to do. And so maybe Ahmed can expand a bit more about that, but I think there is definitely there's definitely a lot of inspiration there.
Well, of course. However, I mean, like it's yeah. Can you hear me? I agree with Omar, of course, with that. So, however, I mean, like our whole goal as well. I mean, like to give people methodology. I mean, like to be a role model for other people. That's why I mean, like we just don't focus on ourselves. I mean, like we wanna recruit other people who has influences as well. I mean, like so they can inspire the other, because the whole idea is just not to have the initiative, but just like deploy this initiative all over the world. Maybe someone is inspired by me, maybe someone is inspired by Omar, maybe some other people are inspired by another people, So our whole idea is just to convince other people who has influence as well, so they can affect the society like better. I mean, like and make people aware, or like have like a generation, like it's like aware of what we are doing.
So what would be the next plan once after? What would be the first project, let's say, once Imagine if launched?
Well, yeah, Omar can start first with that. So I believe, I mean, like as I mentioned before, I mean, like in other ADEX, Omar can take it for. He speaks better than I do, actually. So it's so I believe, I mean, like
Is Ahmed's connection working on your side? Because I think there's a...
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're focusing with the three directions. Like the main direction that we're having right now. I mean, like is like to like the messaging, like or the awareness campaign that we are trying to deploy at first. And then and then after that, so we're going to put solutions. I mean, like, and that would be via cleanups that we are going to do it on land and underwater. And the third direction is like creating alternatives, for everyone. Yeah, Omar.
Yeah, I think one of the important things for us in terms of the project is for us to be very versatile and able to pivot and change very quickly, which is something that COVID-19 has forced us all to do very quickly. So when we started the project, and we've been in planning stage for about a year, we had a certain calendar and a certain plan of how we were going to do things. And obviously, when we're talking about doing a student competition, we're talking about actually going to the actual schools and universities and doing talks there and reaching out, sort of on a in a face-to-face kind of way. And then obviously when COVID-19 hit, we started to go back to the drawing board and understand how we can re-envision achieve the same goals and the same things, but leaning more on the online dimension until things change, until it's safe for us to be able to do that. So there has been a lot of tweaking. Ahmed talked about the cleanups. At the moment, of course, a lot of these cleanups are in very remote areas, and in those remote areas there are people living there that don't have necessarily like huge access to healthcare and so on. So we have to be very careful not to go and do these initiatives too quickly and we have to wait until it's safe to do so. But we also need to remember that one of the biggest pillars of this initiative is the awareness building and so on. And so this is something that you can do from anywhere. And even with COVID-19, the challenge is that everyone is living this this reality that is changing all the time, and we don't know where it's going. And in the beginning, there was a lot of people talking about, this is great for the environment, right? Because, the planet has a time to heal and all of this. But what's actually looking like it's happening now is that in some respects it is, but in some respects, actually, it is hurting the environment. Because, for example, when we're talking about wildlife in Africa, the poachers now have all the chance to be able to go out there unrestricted and to hunt animals. And I'm sure the same is happening on the marine side. I'm actually where I'm talking to you now, in the Red Sea. I can see the sea from where I am now if I look to my right. And just a couple of days ago, there seemed to be sort of a dumping of some sort because the water was very polluted. And so, it's better now. But I'm just saying that the COVID-19 brings a new set of challenges. In some cases, it's beneficial to the environment, and in some cases, it allows people to go unchecked and continue to engage in bad practices. And we need to be able to come up with novel ways to reach to people, novel ways to develop this emotional connection. Because if we are just basically hitting people with messages and rhetoric that they've heard before many times, they become immune to it and they become sort of desensitized to it. And so we have to be able to use the online platforms in a very meaningful way. I think luckily both Ahmed and I are have reasonable sort of followings online and in social media, and we have our co-founders Shireen and Farah are much younger than us, and they're much more in tune with all the different trends in terms of content creation and so on. So we're using all the different the different positives and the different edges that each one of us brings to the table, and we're trying not to be set back and put our plans on hold, but we're actually moving forward in a new way, in a way that could actually be there to stay. So we need to be able to continue to push these environmental message in a world where maybe that's not on the forefront of people's agenda at the moment, because everybody's worried about, so we need to be able to deliver these messages in a sensitive way, but also to kind of stress to people, well, this is important very much, and that's at the forefront of our imagination and our action and so on. But also, the environment thing is not going away, and we need to find a way to engage with it and have a conversation around it in a meaningful way, despite of everything.
We left with 5 minutes to this session. Didn't know that it was that fast. Okay. Yeah. When you have fun, time just passes. Damn it. Okay. So I think let's just have a final question, and then we go with Ahmed, and then after that we go with Omar, and for example, what I mean, like, right, I mean, we are currently celebrating World Ocean Week, and we have just had World Ocean Day last Monday, and also the Coral Triangle Day yesterday. And today, for ADEX Pixel Expo, we are celebrating the whole of this week with a focus of the awareness and the mindfulness of marine conservation and ocean conservation. Albeit it could be plastic, or it could be corals, it could be dugongs, or it could be marine life, pelagic animals, it could be anything. So in your own words, what would be your ideal plan for yourself with regards to your aspirations for Imagine If in the next 3 years? Shall we start with Ahmed?
Well, I think in the next 3 years, me and Omar were just talking about that as well. I mean, like that we want to have like a recycling factory as well. I mean, like, or implement the idea that we're gonna get, like after that, and we started already like contacting like restaurants, like to use alternatives, like of the plastic. As well, I mean, like the new generation as well. I mean, like just like without like we don't want to have it, like because like plastic free and other things. It's like a new fashion right now, like vegan and vegetarian things. Like we don't want to have that. We want to have actually, like the plastic free world is like to be a culture, like in China, for example, in Beijing, like you go to the restaurant, they don't give plastic forks for them, they give you like a paper fork or whatever, like the straws and everything. Yeah. Omar.
Yeah, I mean, as for me, I think a lot of the conversations that we're having with a lot of the, the companies, I mean, we've been lucky, like I said, with the National Bank of Egypt, and actually the British Embassy in Cairo has been a supporter of ours as well. And we're lucky with those two players that they actually very much believe in the environmental agenda and they want to push it. But, a lot of conversations that we're having with a lot of companies out there, because obviously working with the private sector is a very, it's a way to create like change on a big level very fast. A lot of the companies, when you're talking about green, they're looking at what they can get out of it in terms of publicity, marketing, sort of good PR. And that's a kind of a means to an end. I mean, we were lucky to have two partners that are looking at the core of it. We're happy to engage with corporates that want to sort of improve on their image and so on. But if I'm looking at 2 or 3 years down the line, I hope that we would have been able to be part of this mission or part of this journey where companies start to actually want to embrace and develop green practices for the sake of actually doing good business, because this is the right thing to do. We're happy for the moment to play along and to because there's lots of other companies out there and lots of people out there that are just simply not interested in engaging in that dialogue at all. But we're hoping for a future, if I'm looking at 3 to 5 years down the line, where companies are kind of competing against each other to find more innovative ways and better ways of protecting the environment, and that becomes something that companies are competing on in a big way and trying to show each other up on it, because at the end of the day, the environment would be the big winner. So we're looking at really a big cultural shift. That would be, if we can achieve a big culture shift in the private sector, I think that would also be a huge win for us.
All right, thank you very much, every one of you. Thank you very much, Omar, for your time to be a part of this session with ADEX during the World Ocean Week. Ahmed, thank you very much for your time as well. I know that you're a very busy man, but you managed to have this time slot booked for all of us. We really appreciate it. Okay, so Omar and Ahmed, maybe you can stay on this room chat for a while. Thank you everyone who's watching on ADEX Pixel Virtual Expo today, and we were very grateful with what Omar and Ahmed has shared with us with regards to their plans on launching their Imagine Eve social enterprise that will be launch real soon. I presume really soon. Look out for their exciting events planned up with regards to the nearest upcoming weeks to come. And I'm sure Ahmed and Omar will be sharing with the ADEX community their plans as well, may it be in ADEX shows itself or through what we are doing right now, which is through virtual conversations. Right, so thank you very much. both of you. Please stay. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Elfrance.
Thank you so much.
Well, oh my God.